Why everything is a simulation now. Apparently, I'm AI now. Hasn't he been doing videos a long time? Latest, oldest. Yeah, he's been doing videos for fucking 8 years. Like, you can see the progression of how... Oh, he used to be a fitness YouTuber. You can see the progression of how his content changed.
In the past few weeks, I've gotten accused of being AI more than my entire career on YouTube. The first reason is kinda justified. In a recent video, I mispronounced the word pirating as pirating, which...
Yeah, that'll do it!
For some reason is how I've always pronounced it and heard it be pronounced. Then amongst all these lawsuits,
Oh, we watched that one, didn't we? Yeah. No, I fucking ranted about this. Yeah. No, yeah. I did actually rant about this.
The iPod releases and the potential for pirating music exploded. The pirating, I just can't.
The pirating.
It's AI. Even the cadence of this whole video screams AI. Pirating? You an AI, bro? AI is getting out of hand. If not for pronunciation of pirating instead of pirating, I would have thought this was a...
The thing with AI is it would pronounce the word correct. Why do people... Here's a weird thing. Why do people assume that if someone makes a mistake, it's AI? I think this is actually going to be one of those things which trick more people into thinking things are or are not AI. Because we're at a point now where a lot of things, the AI work is more perfect. Not perfect as in good, but polished. Like the hard edges are going to like kind of removed. He's gonna address. I'm sure he will. But like this is a problem that I feel like a lot of people are gonna like really run into. Obviously, if you see a dancing pug, you're like, oh, that's probably AI. But like for a lot of other things, I do think this is actually gonna lead people down a weird path to sort of I don't know if any of you pay attention to like any artist spaces. Artists love to accuse each other of using AI. They will like fucking circle a bunch of mistakes on an art and they're like, AI, see, you drew the finger weirdly. See, this shading's weird. That means it's AI.
The human channel. Then there was what I thought to be a less justified reason. In that same video, I mispronounced the word LimeWire, which is how I've always pronounced it, and that's the correct pronunciation, as limeware. Applications like LimeWire allowed you...
I didn't even notice that. I just assumed... I say words weirdly sometimes. LimeWire. LimeWire. Like, that's how I would say it. LimeWire.
And that's the correct pronunciation, as limeware. Applications like LimeWire allowed users that same P2P sharing experience, once again giving consumers the opportunity to...
Yeah, that's just how I would say it. That's just... If you have an accent where you tend to blend syllables together, that's what's gonna happen.
Load their iPods with hundreds of free MP3s. And people somehow thought that second mistake connected to me being AI. This initially perplexed me. Why would me messing up a word that badly be taken as a sign that I'm AI more than if I pronounced all the words perfectly and fluently? Like, how could an AI mess up words to that degree? But I think I figured out why people feel that way. Because I pronounce things and speak with a cadence and tone similar to AI, perhaps more so than the average person.
I think the other thing with him is he has a very consistent speaking style. He doesn't tend to put a lot of emotion into his speech. So it comes off somewhat robotic.
Any mispronunciation is taken as further proof that my voice is an AI machine with flaws in it, rather than evidence of human error. Imagine that, under certain conditions, making mistakes is now indicative of not being human. But even in a video where I didn't mispronounce anything, I still got accused of being AI. Listen, I kinda get it. My face doesn't really match my voice, right? And I tend to inject my voice with a little more charisma to keep you engaged for these videos. But regardless, this is scary. I feel like there's not much I can do at this point to not get accused that my voice, my scripts, or even my face is AI generated. And it might not be long before the average person posting on social media is accused of being AI, as the lines between what's...
Wait, what do you... no, that does happen. That's actually happening. So there was this, I don't know if he's going to address... He probably won't. There's this cooking channel, And she like hyper fixates. I'm not gonna be able to find it. There's this cooking channel where she hyper fixates on the perfect shots. And because of that, people accuse her of being AI.
Real and what isn't continue to blur. So today I want to discuss the implications of this, how AI influencers could reshape the landscape of social media, push misinformation and truth past the point of no return, and what it might take to determine whether anything is real in the future.
Nothing is real.
The basis for the ideas and implications I'm going to discuss comes from French philosopher Jean Baudrillard's essay, Simulacra and Simulation. And to explore these properly, it's important to first understand what simulacra even means and why it's so prevalent in our modern world. A simulacrum, boiled down to a single definition, is a copy of something that no longer has an original.
I thought it was pronounced simulacrum. Maybe I'm AI. Maybe this entire stream is AI. Fuck, man. What are we gonna do about that?
Example that Baudrillard uses to make that idea clear. Imagine you're in a territory, say the state of New York, and someone creates a map at a 1-by-1 scale of it.
Right.
The map is laid over New York, completely covering it. Now the original New York is effectively replaced by this copy. People begin to walk across the map, and over time it starts to wear down. Pieces tear away and blend into the actual territory beneath, until it becomes more and more difficult to tell which parts are the map, aka the copy, and which parts are the real New York. Now imagine that everyone who was alive before New York was replaced by this 1-by-1 map has died, and no one living has ever known a world without the map covering it. Eventually, the map becomes New York. To its inhabitants who have never known anything else, the representation of New York is as real, or in some cases more real, than the real New York that existed before the map was placed on top of it. That's essentially what a simulacrum is, a representation that stops pointing to an original reality and instead becomes reality in its own right.
Chun-Li from Fortnite. So, follow along with me for a second. Every year, Pornhub puts out a list of the most popular porn categories, okay? Over the past couple of years, one of the top characters has been Chun-Li from Fortnite. Now, everyone here knows that Chun-Li is not a Fortnite character, but her representation in Fortnite is the basis for so many people learning about this character that now this is where they are from. Isn't she Street Fighter? Yeah, that sounds right.
You can already begin to see how this relates to artificial intelligence. In its current form, AI is largely a copy or representation of human intelligence. It's trained on an amalgamation of humanity's texts and ideas, learning to replicate our mannerisms and language in a very particular way. In that sense, AI becomes a simulacrum of humanity. And as more and more of daily life involves interacting with artificial intelligence, it begins to resemble the 1-by-1 map of New York. Given enough time engaging with it, the line between human and artificial intelligence blurs until the artificial becomes indistinguishable from humanity itself. This concept is a bit tricky to understand at this point in the video, I know, and there's so much going on in the modern world that requires us to just push slop into our retinas and keep us in a constantly emotionally dysregulated, stressful state, and that's why I think it's so important to have some sort of mindfulness meditation practice every day. Something I've been using for a long time now to reduce my stress around all this stuff and focus on what I can actually control is today's sponsor, Headspace. So I've been meditating for about 8 years now, and if I had to point to one of the most important practices that has increased my self-awareness and led me towards being the most physically, mentally, and financially stable I've ever been, it would be mindfulness meditation.
Headspace is doing ads again?
I personally use Headspace 5 minutes in the morning when I wake up and 5 minutes right before bed. There's a meditation called Jumpstart Your Day, and the guide's calming voice paired with the intentional breathing exercise helps me relinquish any negative thoughts I may have started the day with, and more importantly, makes the stressful situations I'll inevitably face throughout the day much easier to handle.
practice
Just
that
take
I
a second to listen. I guarantee
have
it'll
done
help.
in the past,
As
and then
you breathe in,
I get lazy
an
with it.
idea of taking in fresh air as the lungs expand.
It's something I should do more
And
often.
as you breathe out, just noticing how the muscles in the body soften and relax.
My emotional regulation after listening to this is so dialed in for the rest of the day. At night, I use the deep breathing for stress relief meditation. I can literally feel my entire body melt
Why
when I'm
are
done
you
with this
on
one.
the
And on
show?
days where I don't end up doing this, there's a noticeable difference in how quickly my thoughts move and how much I toss and turn in bed before I fall asleep. If you're someone who doesn't meditate right now because you feel like you don't have the time, to be honest, you don't need the time. Everyone has 5 minutes in their day to replace their doom scrolling with.
You have this is not like his main point here, and not the point of the video at all. A lot of people talk about not having time for things, and there are people that legitimately don't have time for things, right? They work, you know, if you're doing a medical residency, you don't fucking have time for anything, right? Understandably, you don't have time. But a lot of people, they have time and then fill that time. And I'm exactly the same. There are things I know I should be doing and I don't. And, you know, you scroll through YouTube, you scroll through whatever thing you want to use, scroll through social media, and you just, like, you fill the time with whatever you can. And if you actually want to do something, you can usually find some time to do so. Not everyone. Understandably, not everyone. If you have a full-time job and 8 kids, sure, understandable. But most people aren't like that.
And just that 5 minutes will completely transform your mindset. It still blows my mind to this day how effective meditation is. So if you want to keep your stress levels in check and slow down in a world that is constantly shouting at you to speed up, you can try Headspace entirely for free for 60 days by clicking the link in my description or scanning the QR code that you see on screen. It's 2 months full of free access compared to the standard 2-week trial available on their website. So now that we know what a simulacrum is...
Medito is probably better out for that. Yeah, there's so much free content. Like, I see these like yoga apps as well. There is hundreds of hours of free yoga on YouTube. I understand the idea of paying so you can get like a guided session, like a guided program. But like, there's so much content out there for free that I don't really see a reason to pay for one of these apps.
And what it entails, there are 4 distinct phases of simulacra that will allow me to expand upon my explanation. The first phase of simulacra is a basic reflection of reality. A good example of a phase 1 simulacrum is a lemon. A lemon isn't trying to be anything other than a lemon.
Right.
It isn't a copy of something else, it's just a lemon. Phase 2 simulacra is a perversion or masking of reality. If we continue with our lemon example, a phase 2 simulacrum would be a lemon pie. The pie still has lemon in it, but it's been altered to serve a different purpose, that of being enjoyed as a dessert. Phase 3 is where signs and symbols begin to take over. This is when a simulacrum masks the absence.
I don't think it's paywall you can do. It's not, I've not actually heard of this one. Medito. Building a more mindful world. App. Free forever. Made for people, not for profit. Okay. I will, I'll take a look. Thank you for that. It's on F-Droid too. Oh, okay, really not made for profit then.
Of reality. Continuing the lemon example, a fitting phase 3 simulacrum would be lemon jello. Lemon jello has the attributes and representation of a lemon without containing any lemon at all. You're reminded of a lemon, but no lemon actually exists. Lastly, phase 4 is called pure simulacra. A phase 4 simulacrum would be lemon drop jello shots. It references an earlier representation, a previous perversion, then detaches even further from its original basic reflection of reality. Now, it's possible that someone could go their entire lives having never experienced an actual lemon, only its simulacrum. And maybe it's hard to imagine that someone would have only drank lemon drop jello shots throughout their life and never eaten an actual lemon, but just
Grape soda grape soda, I think, is a much more common example. Most people have probably tried a lemon. However, the grapes that are used in the grape flavor that is used in grape soda and like grape flavored things, they're not table grapes. There's different kinds of grapes. Banana flavor is an actual example of that. Banana flavor is a good one as well, yeah. But I go with grape soda specifically because most people have had like a regular grape, so they have this idea in their head what a grape tastes like. But you have something grape flavored, it tastes nothing like that. But those grapes do exist. Those are like that grape flavor is a real thing. The actual banana that flavor models doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. Right, because there are, banana flavor based on extinct banana. The Big Mike. Yes. The fucking Big Mike. There is a... I believe there is actually... Is it? It wasn't entirely wiped out. There is a small... There are some growers of it. Banana is a real weird fucking plant. Because the modern bananas we have, and this is why anytime there is like a banana disease, it is so fucking detrimental. Modern bananas aren't real. Right? Sorry, that probably makes no sense. Modern bananas are just like clones of other bananas. They're not a real, they're not like a real plant. Without people, they just die. With people, they just die, but they die slightly less. Because all, like, genetic diversity in bananas has just been bred out.
Just use your imagination. The point is, as more of reality gets replaced by these Phase 3 and Phase 4 simulacra, reality becomes less relevant, sometimes no longer considered at all. What begins to feel more real are the signs and symbols, the lemon drop jello shots, which muddy our sense of what is true and real.
A good example of this as well, I don't know if it's a thing in the US, we have a lot of raspberry-flavored candy. And raspberry-flavored candy is very different to eating an actual raspberry. Honestly, I'm not a fan of actual raspberries. Contemporary bananas are carefully supported by humans as the original bananas were wiped out by disease. Yeah. Same with, like, strawberry. I'm not a big fan of strawberries. But I like strawberry-flavored things. Cherry flavors like that in the US? Right. You guys don't have black currant in the US because it's, like, invasive or something. Black currant is very common in Australia. Black currant is, like, one of the standard flavors.
Over the past few decades, our reality has increasingly been filled with simulacra. Advertisements display lifestyles and ideals that people become hooked on, affecting the ways in which they perceive and conduct their lives.
Oh yeah, Instagram is the entirety of Instagram life is a simulacrum.
Social media then amplifies this effect, presenting curated versions of identity and experience that often matter more than the...
Do you notice how in a lot of these day in life videos, no one's ever working? Maybe they'll do like an hour of work.
The reality they supposedly represent. And in the case of artificial intelligence,
you have a little bit.
It is leaning farther
But like we have a lot of black currant stuff
towards Phase 4 of simulacrum than ever before. AI began with the ability to answer very simple questions. Things like calculators, rule-based programs, and basic search engines reflected human logic without attempting to imitate human thought or expression. Then artificial intelligence...
Oh! Sorry, another side tangent. Something I found out that's pretty common recently. Apparently, so you know how like AI models early on just couldn't do math? Like at all? So the way that one of the ways they got around that problem is a lot of the time they have the models internally write Python code and then have the Python answer the math problem. because it's gonna answer it better. And you know what? It's a hack, but I like it.
Intelligence began to pervert or mask reality. When it gained the ability to approximate human judgment through recommendation algorithms or early chatbots, it started to become more engaging and useful, kind of like the human it was meant to represent. Reality was still present, but it was filtered and optimized to fit human preferences. But Phase 3 felt like a point of no return. When chatbots became highly sophisticated and sycophantic, such as the release of ChatGPT,
4.0 did so much fucking damage to people. Our process of the math equation engage a different part of our brain to solve the problem. Sure, that's true. We don't write Python code in it. That would be good. I would like that. That if we can just like stream code from our brain to the computer, that would make everyone's life a lot easier. Maybe one day. Maybe one day when we have like brain computer interfaces, we could do that. That'd be nice. But yeah, no, ChatGPT 4.0 or GPT 4.0, people went fucking crazy with that because it was 4.0 was very personable. A lot of people started to get into relationships with it. They started to be friends with it. They used it as their therapist. People were like, I got married to it. I believe there was someone who killed themselves after 4.0 broke up with them. I believe that's a thing that happened. Like, 4.0 was going down a very dangerous path, and I'm very happy they sort of reeled that back in with some of the later models.
everyone started offloading
Granted, we're gonna get back there eventually, it's just gonna take some time.
some of their thinking, something that makes them more human, to these chatbots. And now that we've spent enough time in this phase, it's becoming almost impossible to determine whether a piece of content we see, especially online, was written by a human or generated by artificial intelligence. In other words, reality, that is the thoughts and ideas derived from humans themselves, is no longer relevant or even considered because it has become so indistinguishable from what these systems can produce that the distinction itself begins to feel meaningless. And pretty soon, it's possible we're gonna see Phase 4 of Simulacra, what I'd consider photorealistic, indistinguishable video, voice, text, and even roboids, become the map laid over almost our entire reality.
Yep.
It's here that we enter total hyperreality, another term coined by Jean Baudrillard.
I've brought up this idea before, but I don't know if it's happened yet. There will come a point where video evidence, unless you can verify where it came from, would no longer be admissible in court. And that's a very, very dangerous point to be at. And we're really not that far off. I don't know if the world is ready for that. We're getting close in the US, so that, yeah, I think it's gonna take a couple of really big cases of fake video. Well, there's already been cases of US senators showing off fake images as real ones. What was... I don't want to get into ICE stuff here, but what was the guy that got shot the other, like, maybe a week or two ago? I don't remember his name. There was one of the geriatric senators who showed a picture of him in court, in their fucking their talking room thingy. Yeah, that one, Alex Preddy. Yeah. One of the geriatric senators who showed an image of him, and one of the cops holding his head, holding him down, didn't have a head, right? It was just not a real image at all. So we're already so close to this happening.
Which refers to simulations or images
that was a really
of reality
bad image. Whoever in his staff let him show that either hates him, or no one in his staff has any idea what they're doing. Because there's no world where he did that himself. My assumption is someone set him up because they wanted him to look ridiculous.
Become indistinguishable from, or even more real than, reality
Why
itself.
not both?
It's what
Actually, very fair point.
happens when we've lived so detached from reality for so long that what counts as real is constantly shifting to match whichever representation has the most attention on it at any given time. Artificial intelligence social media accounts are like hyper-reality inception. They operate on top of something that is already a hyper-reality, a simulacrum of social life, and use it to generate even more simulacra. On social media, most things are already simulated representations of real life. Everyone is performing, which has made many of us skeptical of what's actually authentic in the first place. But with AI, the performance no longer even requires a person behind it. And as it continues to improve, and as we become increasingly aware of that improvement, this portrayal of reality makes us second guess nearly everything, while at the same time relying on that simulacrum for information about reality itself.
Fuck.
At the same time relying on that simulacrum for information.
Yeah, he started up, I don't remember his name. He started up an AI channel and it just like bombed into the ground. He was going down, so like he just wanted to like give up on doing YouTube stuff, but still wanted the money from YouTube. So he tried it, and it just went horribly wrong.
About reality itself. The grok is this true phenomenon on Twitter is a good example of how what is real and true can get pushed farther from its origins. If someone makes a bold claim on Twitter, you're already gonna be skeptical. People can tweet just about anything they want without consequences, unless it gets enough attention to the point where a community note gets slapped on it. So now, instead of tracing a claim back to
Grok, is this true? Grok, is this true? Like, I don't mind Grok being there for like, you know, hey Grok, what is the name of this anime? What is the name of this series in the picture? Thing like, hey Grok, can you provide the original source for this video? Things like that. But Grok, is this true? Grok, is this I don't like, some of this is obviously like shitposting, right? But like, there are actually people who have no idea how to go and verify the reality of something.
source, people ask Grok, the platform's chatbot, whether something is true in the replies. In doing so, verification itself becomes outsourced to the simulacrum. The Grok chatbot creates the new truth. And although one could argue that it's relying on the truth based on human data it was trained on, chatbots like Grok are still known to frequently get information wrong or hallucinate and pull information straight out of their robot ass. Now think about the feedback loop this creates. A person uses a chatbot to verify reality. They use that output to form new beliefs. Those beliefs then influence real-world behavior and discourse, the very material chatbots are later trained on to generate future truths. If this cycle continues long enough, truth becomes recursive and self-referential, increasingly detached from any.
Whilst this is true, I can tell you for a fact that this happened pre-AI. So, there have been a number of times where I've been researching a story, and somebody includes a quote, and then they're like, oh, this quote comes from this outlet. I go to that outlet. Oh, this quote comes from this outlet. And then another one. This quote comes from this outlet. This quote comes from this outlet. And then eventually, one of them just links back to the first one. The quote comes from this outlet. And nobody knows where the quote came from. Is it real? Is it fake? Who knows? Nobody knows.
Stable origin, something constantly in motion and almost impossible to pin down at all. This also explains why some people have already started accusing me of being AI and why I don't really blame them for it. AI has gotten so good at mimicking our inflections, tone, and word choice that the cues that we used to rely on to tell human expression.
They've accused me of being Amish and Muslim and Greek. But I've not got AI yet.
Apart are starting to disappear. Add to the fact that more people are now hyper aware of what sounds or looks like AI, and if you're guilty of even a few of those traits, you become the blur. The simulacrum people can no longer tell is real or not.
It's the beard.
It really feels like we're
beard.
almost at the starting point of phase 4, where soon, if this software becomes hardware and AI influencers no longer have anything human running it, it'll exist entirely untethered from
Agentic
lived experience.
influences.
At that point, the simulation won't even be imitating reality anymore. It will operate independently of it, producing culture, opinions, and truths without ever having to pass through a human mind at all. And I'm not trying to fearmonger you here and have these hypotheticals that are just hypotheticals be implanted in your brain as like, this is absolutely what's gonna happen, but this is fucking scary, and it's something we have to become aware of. We've already seen glimpses of this in the present day and the consequences of living in a hyper-reality like this. Right now, most misinformation and propaganda are still being produced by humans, and because we spend so much of our lives on the platforms where they circulate, it's creating a fragmented society, one where agreeing on even basic facts feels more and more difficult. As that happens, social cohesion erodes, moral dilemmas multiply because it becomes harder to determine what's—
There has been this weird, interesting growing thing post-COVID. It's not like a major trend, but it's enough where it's noteworthy. There's been a lot more people that want to do things in person. I've talked about this a couple of times before, but in the past, like, couple of years, I've seen probably 8 game stores open up around me. Not like video game, but like board game stores, card game stores, like in-person games that I had never seen before. Like, it's one thing to have them in the city. I don't live in the city. I live in the suburbs. And there's, like, all of these game stores around me now. And this was not a thing even just, like, 8 or so years ago. So, there is certainly some sort of a growing interest in providing an in-person space, because an in-person space, at least until we start having, like, you know, AI glasses, it's still real. It's not going to be something which is tainted by this. Now, some people will argue with you based on things they read from an AI, but besides that, like, you're still dealing with people in person, and eventually they'll go off that script, and you'll have, like, a real interaction with someone.
right or wrong. Social unrest grows because we know this is happening but feel powerless to stop it. And perhaps the most unsettling consequence of all is that language itself and the words we rely on begins to lose its meaning. The most relevant example I can think of are the terms boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, what do those words actually mean anymore? Their meaning has already begun to muddy. To some people, someone is not your boyfriend or girlfriend unless you or they have verbally asked you to be their boyfriend or girlfriend, and you or they have said yes. To others, people might see someone as their boyfriend or girlfriend if they've just been on a bunch of dates and they see each other often. The dissolution of a concrete meaning of these words has undoubtedly been fueled by a part of hyperreality, mainly social media and dating apps. But now, people are starting to form relationships and even marriages.
People have been doing this for a bit. It's gotten real bad now, but people have been doing this for a bit. There was someone who let me see, when was this? Japanese man marries Miku. When was this? This was a long time ago. 2018. 2018 was when Akihiko Kondo married Hatsune Miku. Yeah. So, you know. Whilst AI certainly made it far, far worse. Wait, this Wikipedia page is wild. Akihiko Kondo, and then spouse, Hatsune Miku. Man, what? Alrighty.
with their AI chatbots and avatars. Can we still call that AI a boyfriend or girlfriend to a real human? Or does this stretch the definition of boyfriend and girlfriend to the point where these words no longer meaningfully describe anything at all? Now apply that same logic to almost everything. If people increasingly rely on a simulacrum to define what words mean, then meaning itself becomes something generated by something artificial, rather than lived and negotiated between real people. And when that happens, it not only causes all the consequences I previously stated, but it opens the door for all of us to become more easily manipulated, mainly by corporations who will exploit these shifting definitions to shape how we think, respond, and how divided we become.
No one talked about it because no one cares about the Winter Olympics, but the opening video intro to the Winter Olympics was all AI generated.
At that point, how we define something as real or true begins to dissipate entirely, as we can already see happening today, like with the accusations made against me. So now that we have a deeper understanding of this hyper-reality we are entrenched in and how it's starting to affect the way we perceive and think about our basic reflections of reality, how the hell do we stop this from getting worse? Good freaking question. I love to post solutions at the end of my videos, but I don't think it's going to be anything I haven't already stated. You have to distance yourself from these platforms which create an abundance of simulacra and re-engage with places where humans have always established their definitions of truth. Rely more on physical media and textbooks rather than chatbots. And
I wouldn't do that. You don't know how, unless you know the author, because you don't know how many books on Amazon are just AI generated. So, cookbooks are really bad for it. There are so many just bullshit cookbooks.
when you engage with this media, try to articulate what you've learned in your own words, rather than offloading that difficult work to a simulacrum designed to deliver quick, effortless answers at the cost of developing your own understanding. Engage with humanity in real life and discuss these ideas with humans more, instead of these artificially generated versions of these ideas.
You go with the classics, yeah.
Developing your own thoughts based on what you've learned from reality, not this thing, and critically examining what the truth is and what it should be through meaningful discussion with other humans is your greatest rebellion against hyperreality. I recommend watching this video again to get these concepts to really stick inside your brain, and I know the modern world is overwhelming and I talked about some negative things here, so I really hope you take the time to relax and unwind on a daily basis using something like Headspace, which, like I said, link in the description for that. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like my video discussing what's been going on with education and AI and how AI is disrupting the education system. So check out that video if you'd like to. But also, like I said, take time to yourself, relax, stress-free. Let's chill. Things are going to be fine. Goodbye.
I'm not subbed on this channel, but I am subbed on the main one, which I actually just watch stuff on. That was, as always, good video. I like Cole Hastings. Yeah, look, the world is a little bit cooked right now. It really is, right? Things are not going to get better before they get worse. I think we still have quite a bit of collapsing to do before we really see a fixing of the path we're on. But maybe I'm wrong.